do is get the butternut squash going. And this, I don't know how much you know. I mean, there's so many different types of squashes out there, especially now. I'm learning every day. But this is a butternut squash. And I roasted it already, but I just wanted to show you, if you haven't worked with it before, you don't get overwhelmed by it. It's really not hard to deal with. You need to roast it. You got to cook it first, obviously. Butternut squash, you generally have to peel because you really can't eat the skin. It's too tough. So what we do is roast it. A lot of times you'll find them in the grocery store already peeled and cut. That's really nice. So then all you have to do is roast it yourself. But the easiest way to do this is cut the top and the bottom off so that when you do cut it down the center, it's easier to slice. Okay. Although you're going to say, oh gosh, this is not that easy to slice. I don't know why it's not behaving very well today. But okay, because what we have to do first before you roast it is you've got, as I said, you have to cut it. This is not behaving. And we want to take the seeds out. Gosh, maybe you don't want to do this. So maybe you want to buy the ones that are already pre-cut, and then you can just stick them in the oven. Because, as I said, this one is just does not want to cut. Okay, there we go. All right, so you see that we want to take out those seeds. You want to scoop them out. Here's my spoon. Just really easy to scoop out. It's kind of like not as bad as pumpkin. Pumpkin's a pain in the neck to take out, pumpkin seeds. But you just scoop them out, just like this. And then we're gonna, when you roast the squash, you're gonna put some olive oil on it and some salt and pepper. And then you're going to turn the oven on 425 degrees. Get a baking sheet and put some parchment paper on it. And then you pop them in the oven, skin side up. I'm just gonna move these out of the way. And then you roast it for about 40 to 50 minutes. And what you really want to do is, as I said, keep it skin side down, make sure it's nice and tender on the inside. And if it gets a little dark on the outside, that's okay. It's good for the flavor for the soup. So I did this earlier today. When it comes out of the oven, it gets very, very hot. So you have to let it cool for a good 10, 15 minutes before you work with it. So that, as I said, I did that already. And where's my bowl? So after you've roasted it, as I said, 40 to 50 minutes in a 425 degree oven, you're going to scoop out the pulp from the skin, just like this. You see how easy this is? This is so easy. And then you throw away the skin because we can't use it. All right. So that, as I said, this is just oil, salt, and pepper on the inside. And then everything else. I really like using parchment paper because it's such easy cleanup. Because if you put this on a regular dish, I don't know, it might get really, really messy. So we're just gonna take all this, throw it away, or actually just stick it here. So let me just clean this up a little bit because this is my working surface. Okay. So butternut squash soup is not just butternut squash, right? So we're going to go over to this camera because what we want to do is we want to make the soup. So the first thing you need to do is you take one shallot. And what's a shallot? It's kind of like a cross between garlic and an onion. All right, so I took up one bulb and I chopped it. And I'm going to add, use a large pot put some oil in the pot. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna saute this shallot, I don't know, whichever way, tomato, right? So we're gonna pop that in. Okay, and we're gonna let this saute for a couple of minutes. I'm just gonna, while that's, getting going right now, I'm just gonna go over what we're gonna be doing. So we're gonna add the shallot, and after that cooks for a few minutes, we're going to add some garlic. This does not want to heat up right now, okay. All right. And what I'm gonna use, is I use my immersion blender to blend it up into a soup. So this way I can make everything in here, and at the very end, we'll blend it all together with the immersion blender. If you do not have an immersion blender, and this is an immersion blender, you literally stick it in the pot and you turn it on, it goes zzz, right? So it's really easy to work with when you're making soups and things, but if you don't have that, that's fine. You could just put everything into a blender, and then, you saute this first, put everything in the blender, and then cook it afterwards. You follow? So if you don't have the immersion blender, you can do it this way. Okay, so this is cooking nicely. And you just want to let the shallot saute a little bit till it gets a little brown around the edges, right? And then this can go very, very quick. And then we're going to add our garlic. This is 4 cloves of garlic that I put through a garlic press. Very quick. Okay. And then, garlic cooks very, very quickly. Last thing you want it to do is burn. So we want to be, so you really just kind of stir it around for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Then next, we move real quickly. Oh, we're going to add a little bit of salt to that too. I almost forgot. Just a little pinch. All right. So then we're going to add our squash. And then I've got regular chicken broth. Okay, this is 3 to 4. So a box is 4 cups. And I started this one already. We're going to add the chicken broth right to the pumpkin. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. I know this is a maple syrup day. And then we're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. So really just a dab, right? Okay. And then some pepper. Gotta have some pepper. So you say how much pepper? It's really to taste. I generally, it's probably about 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And now what we're going to do is just let this cook so all the flavors melt together. I just want to make sure I have everything. Garlic, maple syrup, nutmeg, pepper, and then chicken broth. And that's it. So that's going to cook for about 15 minutes. I'm going to pop this over to my back burner so that I can work on my next thing. And then when that's all done, we're going to add a little bit of butter or oil, and then, shock it with the blender. Really, really easy. I mean, not hard at all. Yeah, you could buy a box or a butternut squash soup from Trader Joe's or Stu Leonard's and get the fresh made, but this is so much better because you know what's in it. You can determine how much salt and pepper you put in, all kinds of stuff like that. So, all right. So that's that.